Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation on important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our video podcast. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about video games. Then I'm going to be talking about the big fight this weekend. And then I'm going to be talking about friendship and honesty. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. There's a running gag in my family of a bunch of pictures being taken of me at various stages in my life. Let's say 5, 10, 15, and 20. And I'm in the same pose. I'm sitting on a chair or couch, leaning forward, video game controller in my hand, and I'm staring intently at the television. I'm playing mad video games, yo. Been doing it all my life. I love video games. I love video games so much that my dad said to me while I was in college, he said, "Hey man, you know, you really love video games. Maybe you should think about computer programming or information sciences." And I was like, "No, Dad, I want to teach the kids. I want to go out there and help the kids." He said to me, "Hey son, I'm gonna be real honest with you. You like money, and I don't think teachers make enough money for you." And I said, "No, Dad, it's not about the money. It's about helping the kids." My dad was absolutely right about both things. One, teachers don't make enough money for me because, I spend money. And two, he was absolutely right. I should have entered in computer programming or information technologies. Part of my side gigs now, I've been doing it for 10, 15 years, developing websites for people and things of that nature. I like coding. And to know that I could have grown up doing coding, growing up in my adult life, doing coding, creating video games, I could have taken the writer in me that loves to create storyboards and loves to come up with characters, and then merge that with computer programming and could have been my own video game web designer. But I didn't do that. Why? Because I wanted to help the kids, and I still love the kids. But also, I like video games. And the reason why I bring all this up is because I just read an article recently. The article was titled, "Let Them Play. Experts Explains How Video Games Are Preparing Kids for Future Jobs." It's by Lindsay Mattis. And basically what it does is it highlights the positive effects of video games on children's skills and career prospects. What does this all mean? All right, I'm gonna break it down for you. Basically, the article emphasized that video games can help develop essential skills such as problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, and adaptability, which are all highly sought after in today's workplace. The increasing integration of technology and gaming across various industries further enhances the value of gaming experience for future job seekers, particularly in tech-related fields. Ed Murr, co-founder of Machina Labs, a robotics company, specifically points out the relevance of video games to robotics and manufacturing sectors. He emphasizes that the skills honed through gaming, such as strategizing and navigating complex systems and cooperating with others, are directly applicable to operating sophisticated machinery like robots. Mir's company is actively collaborating with educational institutions to provide students for the future, underlining the growing recognition of gaming's potential in career development. The article concludes by basically saying to parents, hey, embrace your kids playing video games in moderation because it could be a valuable learning tool, especially for children interested in robotics and technology, as they offer a fun and engaging way to acquire skills essential for success in this evolving job market. And I was talking to a friend of mine and they're absolutely right. Video games have become so intricate that you need a mastery level to sometimes play these games, and little kids play them with such ease. And it's different for my generation. Like, I have a friend who has a kid, and he bought the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 5. And he said that He couldn't even just play the game because it was so intricate and so much detail and just day-to-day activity of the missions that he just stopped playing the game. But that his son will sit there and play it for hours because it's easier for him to pick up. Why? Because these kids have been playing with electronics since they were 3 years old. I know so many 2 and 3-year-olds that know how to grab their parents' tablet, go on to YouTube and find what they were looking for. Excuse me, but when I was 5 years old, first of all, if I could find the remote control, I had a hard time remembering what channel my TV shows were on, much less multiple TV shows or scrolling through a YouTube browser and finding the shows that I like. These kids are typing it in. They're spelling at 3 years old to find their shows in YouTube browsers using the tablet. These kids are far more technologically advanced than any of us ever were. I'm talking about Gen X and millennials, that far more advanced than any of us ever were. Gen Z and Gen Alpha changing the game. There are a lot of millionaires in Gen Z because they know how to work social media. Look, I've been immersing myself in understanding social media as far as the promotion of the show. I can tell you, as somebody who is technologically savvy, it is not easy, but these kids are working with the algorithm and gaining followers and friends and likes and comments like it's nothing because they know how to engage in social media and use technology to their benefit. And I've been saying to a lot of my friends, hey, look, it's not bad for your kids to play video games because they are learning valuable skills. And I'm glad that this article is backing up a little bit of what I'm saying because, hey, man, look, playing video games when I was growing up got me interested in computers to the point where when I was in college, I built my own supercomputer. Why did none of that translate into actually doing it for a living? Because I wanted to go out there and help the kids, y'all. I ain't even helping the kids right now. And it's funny, my dad told me, and I tell him, at least 2 or 3 times a year, like, you was right. You was right when you said what you said. You was right because I should have entered in computer programming, computer science, information technology, information sciences, because I do it and I get paid for it. I don't know how much longer that's going to actually be viable as a web developer, especially with the advent of AI. Look, some of these web developers, you're going to have to step your game up because people hiring you to create websites when they can literally type into an AI creating tool to create their own website by just simply giving the AI tool a few commands and the AI tool creates the website within minutes. You can't charge the $100, $150, $200 an hour like we were not too long ago to have companies and people come to us to create their website. AI will do it. And you know what? These kids are already using AI. It's all a continuation of technology. And this article emphasizing video games is just showing, hey, look, we got to embrace technology to a certain point, right? The article says, hey, parents, encourage your kids to play video games. It's okay, in moderation. Those excessive kids that play video games all night and day, no, make their ass go outside and play. Do kids still do that nowadays? Make them go out there and do that. But to say to your kids, well, no, I'm not going to get you any video game systems because that's going to rot your brain and there's no good use for them. No, we're telling you that they are it's really good use because our industries are moving out of the factory and the steels and operating certain machinery to being into robotics and being able to understand that type of technology, to be able to understand those type of mechanics, to be able to understand working in groups. And I know a lot of people are going to say these kids aren't working in groups. They're working in groups, just not in the ways of which you recognize. But they are. These kids are online playing Call of Duty or Halo. I don't know if it's Halo or something. All those games those kids play? They're playing in a community. They might be conversating and talking over a headset, but that's their community. They don't go outside and everybody with their bikes meet at the end of the cul-de-sac or on the corner, on the street corner, and all decide that they're going to go somewhere. They're like, that's not what they're doing now. They're doing it online. And that's important because, hey, check this out. Are we not doing a lot of remote work now? Don't most people want to do remote work? Do people want to go back into the offices? I know there are a segment of the population that does want to go back into the offices, but for the most part, people want to do remote work. Okay. What is playing video games with your friends over a headset? It's remote, right? It's remote work. So if we're already moving into that direction in the workforce, why not encourage your kids, push your kids towards that direction of where life and technology is going? And if playing video games, strategizing and playing in groups and adapting to new situations, because these video games are really intricate. Look, it's a lot different than Super Mario Brothers. These video games are, I can't even play them. I can't even play them because I'm just like, hey, look, I just want to turn on the game and play because I'm from a different generation. But these kids love the thinking aspect that come along with these video games. And it is teaching them how to use those skills that they are learning playing these video games and adapt them to real life. And there are people out there, companies out there right now working with institutions, educational institutions, to help foster the move towards, hey, we're going towards robotics. I mean, look, Elon Musk already created robots that can catch rockets, right? I mean, soon we're going to have robots or robotics, which is different than robots. Okay. We have a lot of things out there that's robotics, but it's different than robots. Okay. We're going to have robotics with surgery because it'll be a lot easier for a doctor to control a joystick of robotic hands cutting pristine cuts into body parts than it would be for their own hands. I mean, we're moving to that in life and society. So for all my Gen X parents, all my millennial parents that are getting mad at Gen Z and Gen Alpha for playing all these video games, saying it is rotting the brain and there's no good use for it, I'm telling you, there is a good use for it. There is a good use of putting that tablet in that kid's hands and letting that kid play with that tablet. There, I implore all parents out there to put their kids in those coding classes. Either they can get with it or they can't, but at least you introduce them to something different. It used to be you introduce kids to multiple instruments to see if they had some musical talent. Why not introduce kids to different forms of technology to see if they have that capability to maybe parlay that into money one day when they get older? Because I'm gonna tell you, I missed the boat not listening to my dad. And my dad was encouraging that. He said he knew his son. And parents, you know your kids for the most part. My dad knew his son. My dad said, my son has been sitting on that chair at age 5, at age 10, at age 15, at age 20, in the same position, in the same stance, in the same trance, looking at that television, playing video games. He likes video games. Whatever it gives to him, he likes video games. Why wouldn't he take something that he has a passion for and parlay that into a career? It may not be the career that you parents want for your kids, but it might be the career that's best for them. And aren't we trying to do what's best for them? Not what's best for us, but what's best for them. So I'm just saying, hey, parents, let your kids play the video games sometimes. Let them play. Once again, in moderation, but let them play them games. There's a big fight this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not talking about the John Jones fights for UFC because I really don't care about UFC. I don't like Dana White, and I don't know most of the people that's fighting in UFC anymore. That's not the fight I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about wrestling for once in my life. I'm talking about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. So the fight is this Friday, November the 15th. It's at the Dallas, Texas stadium. I know it's in Arlington, Texas, but it's the Cowboys stadium at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. The fight's going to be streamed live on Netflix starting at 8 p.m. They're going to have some preliminary fights. We all know who Mike Tyson is. He's a former undisputed heavyweight champion. Tyson is making his return to boxing after nearly 20 years. The last time he fought, he got his ass whooped, but we don't forget about that conveniently. His last fought professionally in 2005 and has since focused on exhibition matches, not exhibition matches. I remember one, he fought with Roy Jones Jr., and Roy Jones was on an interview, was on a podcast. I can't remember the podcast. If you search it, you'll be able to find it. Roy Jones Jr. was on the podcast talking about that exhibition fight with Mike Tyson. And Roy Jones Jr. is a bad boy, right? And Roy Jones was talking about, yeah, man, I mean, everybody wasn't happy about that fight, but, you know, I wasn't trying to make Mike mad because that's still Mike. Mike is still Mike. That's a pit bull. I mean, I'm a killer, but that's a killer. I didn't want to make him mad. I thought that was funny to realize that Roy Jones and his storied career at one time was the pound for pound best fighter in the world, was still saying, hey, man, I'm good at what I do. I'm great at what I do. But I still don't want to see Iron Mike get mad no matter how old he is. And by the way, I'll get into that in a minute about the age. Jake Paul. I mean, if y'all don't know Jake Paul by now, he's a social media personality turned professional boxer. Paul has a record of 10-1 with 7 knockouts. He has fought notable opponents like former NBA basketball star Nate Robinson, who he knocked out, Tyrone Woodley, who was a UFC star, and an Anderson Silva, who was 792 years old when he fought him, but also a former UFC star. Here are some of the fight rules. The fight will feature 8 2-minute rounds and heavier 14-ounce gloves. It's officially a sanctioned fight, meaning that it will count towards the professional records of both fighters. Jake Paul is a 210 favorite. So what does that mean? It's negative 210. What does that mean? One, it means he's a favorite. It means like if you put down a $210 bet, you would win $100. So he's the favorite in this fight. I'm going to get into that later, what that means to me. Mike Tyson is a 172 underdog. He's a plus 172. What does that mean? That means if you bet down $100, you would win $172. The fight was originally scheduled for July 20th, 2024, just, a couple of weeks after my birthday, but was postponed due to Tyson suffering an ulcer flare-up. I've never had an ulcer, but I heard they're pretty bad, and I don't want one. So, yeah, that's a good reason to postpone the fight. Netflix has been airing a documentary titled Countdown, Paul vs. Tyson, which tracks both fighters as they hype their builds. Jake Paul has teased a $1 million walkout outfit for the fight. This fight is generating a lot of excitement and debate, especially considering the significant age difference and Tyson's long absence from professional boxing. So like I said earlier, Tyson ain't been in no boxing fight, aside from exhibitions for 20 years. And I remember that fight. Once again, he got beat down. It was bad. And it was like, man, please don't fight no more. Tyson is also 58 years old. Jake Paul's in his early 30s. There's a dramatic, I think he's 31. There is a dramatic age difference. What do I think is going to happen in the fight? Well, people that are fans of Iron Mike Tyson, that grew up on Iron Mike Tyson, that played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo, are all saying Mike is going to beat him in this fight. And I was one of those people that was saying Mike was going to beat him in the fight because I've been watching him spar, I've been watching his workout sessions. For 58 years old, he looks good. He looks better than me, and I'm 44, right? He looks good for 58 years old. But that's the thing. He's 58 years old, fighting a young man in his prime. Never mind the fact that Jake Paul, nowhere near the skill level that Mike Tyson once had. But Mike ain't got that skill level no more. He doesn't. Yeah, he looks good in the ring, but he also looks a lot slower. I remember how fast he used to punch. It ain't that hard to find out how fast he used to punch. Just go on YouTube and type in Mike Tyson's greatest knockouts. First of all, everybody should do that anyway because it's a highly entertaining video. But you realize how fast he's throwing punches. Then go look at the videos of him throwing punches in these sparring sessions. They look good, but they look super slow. Does he still have power behind his punches? Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, it's Iron Mike Tyson. He's still going to have the power behind them punches. But he's 58 years old. And what really snapped me back into reality and out of this fantasy world of what Mike Tyson used to be, and what took those blinders off of me looking at what he used to be, seeing him through that lens and seeing him realistically, is Vegas. Now, I say Vegas, but it's the dating sites. I say Vegas just because traditionally it was always Vegas that set the lines, that set the odds. Is Vegas wrong sometimes? Yes. But their batting average is real high because the house always wins. So if they're setting the odds that high for Jake Paul to be the favorite, they know Jake Paul is going to win. And that's what proved it to me. When people that are smarter than me give me information, I tend to listen to it. I tend to not go on what my emotional response would be. And I take in real information from other people who are way more knowledgeable than I, and then make a decision based on learning all the information. And what the odds are telling me is that everybody in the know is saying Jake Paul is going to win this fight. And there are people that are listening and watching this podcast right now. They're like, Bruce, you crazy. There's no way in hell that Jake Paul is going to beat Mike Tyson. You know why you feel that way? It's because you're looking at Mike Tyson through the lens of what he was when we were growing up. He ain't that no more. He's a 58-year-old man. I'm 44 years old. I'm in really good shape. Not just for a 44-year-old, I'm in really good shape. I know how to throw the hands a little bit. I ain't been in a fight for just as long as Mike Tyson has been. It's been over 20 years. I haven't been in a fight, right? But I used to, back in the day, I used to be able to throw them hands a little bit. You know, I was all right with these hands. I was all right. You know what I'm saying? I was all right. My record for fights, I got way more victories than I got defeats, but I got some defeats, all right? I'm not going to say that I was undefeated. I got some defeats. Some of them was bad, but I was all right with these hands. If I trained right now, and a 20-year-old kid trained right now, and let's say we were close to physical stature, they're probably going to win just because of the age difference. I'm past my physical prime, despite the fact that I'm in good shape. But if a 20-year-old that's entering his physical peak has the same type of conditioning and training that I get, in the end, they're more physically fit than I am. No matter how physically fit I am for my age, or even not comparing my age, a younger person with the same training, with the same conditioning, odds are they're going to win that fight. And this isn't just a 20-year difference. This is a 20-plus year difference between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. So yes, after listening to the odds makers and that veil being taken off of my head, those blinders being taken off, and I'm seeing Mike for what he is, Mike looks great for a person his age. He looks fantastic. And when he speaks in these interviews and these promos talking about what he's going to do to Jake Paul, it's like, oh, Mike, it's convincing. I want to believe in old Mike. I do. But there's one person that is undefeated in life, and that is Father Time. Father Time wins every time. The only person I'm seeing defy Father Time is LeBron James. And I will give him that because he's a freak of nature, and I've never seen any physical human specimen like that. He might actually be an alien. He's still not the best player to ever play the game. That was Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But as far as like, I know there's going to be a lot of people like, will you get off of this? Sorry. I was arguing with my cousin earlier. He's a huge LeBron James fan. I'm just like, he still ain't better than Michael, but LeBron James physically is fighting and somehow, I guess, jabbing Father Time away enough to the point where he's almost 40 years old and still like one of the best players in the game. And Muhammad Ali fought at an older age and still looked impressive. Hell, George Foreman came back and won a championship. Mike Tyson is older than George Foreman was when George Foreman came back and won that championship. Okay. And George Foreman had a couple of fights to tune up for that. And yes, I want to believe in Mike Tyson because he's Iron Mike Tyson with the black gloves. I mean, with the red gloves and the black trunks and the black shoes. And he's just, walking in his corner as they're doing the announcements, looking like a pit bull ready to attack. And as soon as that bell rang, he comes running across the ring, ready to attack. And you just know he's about to knock somebody's head off. I mean, not literally, figuratively. We don't really want to see him knock somebody's head off, but I'm just saying. And I know people are listening and watching, and they're like, Bruce, that's the Mike we know. And he's talking a good game. He's selling the fight. He is talking a good game. And he's still got this scary aura that surrounds him because he's Iron Mike. But Father Time says that he is 58 years old. And this young man, Jake Paul, is in his early 30s. And despite the fact that he's not as skilled as a lot of regular professional boxers, because he is not, what he is over 25 years younger than Mike Tyson, fit, and has some boxing skill. Look, I want Mike to win too. And I'm going to watch the fight. But if it starts to get sad, I'm going to come on this podcast and be like, I told you so. I'm not going to want to watch that if it starts to get sad. If Mike starts to get beat, I saw him when he was getting beat 20 years ago. It looked sad. It looked sad 20 years ago when he was younger than what I am right now. It looked sad. Something about the boxers always go out getting beat. Muhammad got beat. Mike Tyson got beat. Joe Frazier got beat. Larry Holmes got beat. And I'm not talking about they lost the fight. They got beat. We've already seen Mike get beat. I don't want to see Jake Paul beat Mike. I don't like Jake Paul. It's something about him and his brother. I just don't like the Paul brothers. I just don't. And it's not because they supported Trump, but that didn't help their cause for me to like them. It's just because, I don't know, they're the epitome of privilege. Are they gifted athletically? Yes. Especially Logan Paul. He the older brother of Jake Paul, stepped into the professional wrestling ring, looks like a star, looks like he belongs there. It's because he could do a lot of acrobatic stuff. As a storyteller, I don't know, but nowadays these kids only care about jumping all over the place and not telling a story in the ring. I'm a storyteller. But are they like athletic? Yes. But are they more athletic than the next person? No, they're not. And they're here because of their privilege. I'm not saying that they don't work hard, because they put in the work to get better at their craft. I just don't think they're extremely talented. They're not, but there's something about them that pisses people off. And if you can piss people off, they want to see you get beat. That's another reason why a lot of people are rooting for Mike Tyson. They just really don't like Jake Paul. The person that was the friend of mine that's been bringing this up and been talking about it all week, is just like, I don't like Jake Paul. Yes, so that has a little something to do with the fact that you think Mike Tyson's going to win. You want him to win. I want him to win. But I'm looking at this logically, and logically, it does not make sense that he would win. If y'all could give me justifiable reasons of why you think that he could win, besides the fact that he's Iron Mike Tyson. And some of y'all are going to say, well, that's enough. He's Iron Mike Tyson. That's enough. Yeah, it was 30 years ago. 30, not even 20 years ago. 30 years ago. You know how long 30 years ago? 30 years ago was 1994. He was in prison. He came out and fought Bruce Sheldon in 95, 96. He fought Evander Holyfield in 96. It was getting beat so bad. Getting beat so bad. In 2 fights, by the way. He lost to Evander Holyfield twice. He was getting beat so bad in the second fight that he bit Evander Holyfield's ear. That was 96 or 97. That was a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. That was a really long time ago. And I'm to believe that when I was in high school, when he lost to Evander Holyfield and bit his ear, when he was getting beat by, granted, one of the greatest boxers of all time, but almost 30 years ago. And now I'm supposed to believe almost 30 years later that a 58-year-old man is going to be a 31-year-old man that is training, conditioning, and has been fighting semi-regularly fights. Look, I'm either going to be right or wrong on this one. And we'll find out later on tonight when y'all are watching the fight, after y'all listen and watch this show, and you could be like, Bruce didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Or you're going to say, well, Bruce was right when he said what he said. I got an odd feeling, an unsettling feeling, because I want Mike Tyson to win. I really do. It's Mike Tyson. And I got an odd and unsettling feeling that what y'all will be saying Friday night and Saturday morning is that Bruce was right when he said what he said, because boy, Mike could not beat that young boy. And I hope he never gets in the ring again after this, because I just want to enjoy what he was and not what he is right now. And what he is right now is a 58-year-old man about to fight a 31-year-old man that the odds makers say he's the underdog. Just take that into consideration before you log in to your Netflix account and hit play on that video and you see the fight and it's not what you want to see. Just remember, it's a 58-year-old man versus a 31-year-old man. Okay. This last segment, after that, I done brought y'all all down talking about Iron Mike is not going to be like that, is about friendships and honesty. And honestly, Mike Tyson's friends should have been honest with him and told him, hey man, I don't care how much the payday is, this ain't a good look. So the reason why this is coming up is because I was talking to an acquaintance of mine, and we were talking about their past situation with their former marriage. And I was with him while he was in the process of getting a divorce and everything that came along with that. And every now and then when we're talking, I revisit some of the crazy things that he went through while he was in the process of getting that divorce. And we'll talk about certain instances and stories and situations that happened along the way. And he will say, yeah, you were trying to tell me in your own way, but you just didn't say it. And I was like, man, I couldn't really say it, because how can you tell a man what I'm about to explain to you guys? How can you tell a man what's going on when that could be the hardest thing to tell him? And so I came up with this idea of honesty and friendships. A lot of us have friends out there. Some of them, sometimes we're brutally honest with our friends. Be like, I don't think you should do that, or that's kind of stupid, or you getting played, you don't see this. And sometimes, we don't want to say certain things that hurt our friends' feelings. I once had a woman that I dated that she would say things and she was like, I'm just being honest. And I was like, you know what? Not every time that you're being honest is something that needs to be said. I was like, unless I ask you something specifically, you don't really need to say anything. Like, especially when the honesty is so brutal, then nothing good will come from it. Like, if you don't like that shirt, okay, but it's my favorite shirt. Like, I don't care what you think. And what does that do to say to me that you don't like it? Like, what are we doing here? I'm still going to wear it because I like the shirt. I'm talking about things that are a little bit more serious than that, but you understand where I'm going when I'm talking about honesty and friends. But let me give you some backstory to this particular person, and I'll run y'all through the situation, and then y'all can get back to me to tell me if I was wrong or right not being honest. Okay. So this person gets married. There's an age difference between him and his wife. I would say about 6 years. She's older than him. She snatched him up young. I mean, I think he was like 23, 24 when they met. He married her, they're like 30, right? So she snatched him up young. So they get married. I was invited to the wedding, but I couldn't make it. So I mean, we're cool, right? Because he invited me to the wedding. About 6 months after the wedding, she quits her job. Now, was the job stressful? Are there reasons why people would have to just be like, I just need to quit my job? Yes, there are absolutely reasons for that. And in the beginning, she didn't really give him, she just said, I'm quitting my job. She didn't really have a discussion with him. But as she told him, hey, I'm quitting my job, he was like, okay, well, I'm here for you. We'll be okay for a little while, but you know, I got you. If it was that stressing you out, you don't need that in your life. I got you down. Why? Because that's his wife. That's what marriage is. Even if a person's decision in the marriage inconveniences you, it's for better or for worse. Okay. That's what we say when we get married. Those are part of the vows. So it's better for worse. So she quit her job. And when he told me, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, hey, sometimes work just, the environment is just so toxic or so bad for your mental health that I'm all for mental health. So if an environment is bad for your mental health, you got to cut it. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's important is your health and well being. So I was like, okay, cool. A month passes and I say, hey, man, did she get a job yet? He's like, no. And at first, the no's were kind of like sad no's, like, nah, she ain't get a job yet. And then I was like, okay, all right. Well, I mean, because I could sense that he was sad that she hadn't got a job because now, like, all of the finances are on him and he can handle it, but that's not what he thought it was going to be when he signed up. But once again, for better or for worse, right? For better or for worse. And so I said, well, I mean, if she not at work, I mean, that's cool, but at least the house is clean. You come home from with cooked food. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that that's the woman's job, right? I don't think that the woman's job is to make sure the house is clean and that she cooks food. That I'm not one of those misogynistic men that believes that if you listen and watch the show, you know that to be true. However, man or woman, if they're not working and the spouse is working, it doesn't matter if it's a man, if it's the husband or the wife, I would assume that the person that's home all day is cooking, cleaning, taking care of the laundry, taking care of the household stuff. Because what else are you doing all day long? He said to me when I said that, like, at least you come home to a home cooked meal and a clean house. He says, when I leave, she's in the bed. When I come home from work, she's sleeping on the couch. I was like, oh, okay. Like, did nothing get done around the house? No, Bruce. Nothing gets done around the house. I was like, well, I mean, she's going through a tough time right now. Whatever's going on with that job really messed with her. So, I mean, things will pick up. Things will pick up. Month later, we just chit chatting. I was like, hey, did your wife get a job yet? No. The no had changed. First it was sad, then it got kind of angry. Not angry at me, angry at the situation. And then I was like, oh, okay. Well, have things changed around the house? No. Oh, well, I mean, things, it's a rough time. She's going through a rough time. So, just be there for her. She's going through it. Oh, I am. I was like, yeah, that's all you could do. I was like, at least because she's home all day, she's got energy, you're having sex. No, we're not. Well, okay. I mean, yeah, if she's going through things mentally, then you're not going to have sex. Month 3. Hey, man, your wife got a job yet? No. Where's she looking? I don't know. Well, like my brother is really good at helping people find jobs. And I know a couple people that, are, because I've lived in this area for so long. I know people in different industries. I was like, well, what is it that she did? Well, what she did, she didn't want to do anymore. Okay. Well, what does she want to do? Mind you, his wife is the same age as me, and I'm the age difference about 7 years older than him, 7, 8 years older than him. So I'm looking at it as she's my peer. She graduated high school the same year I graduated high school. We actually have mutual friends because we're kind of from the same area. I didn't know her beforehand, but we have mutual friends. And so I'm just like, oh, okay, well, she wants to do a new career change. Oh, well, what does she want to do? She doesn't know. Well, man, she'll figure it out. All you gotta do is just keep hanging in there, man. This marriage, man. For better or for worse, it is what it is. One night, her husband was getting an award for something at work. She said that she would not be able to make it to the award ceremony because one of her old friends was coming into town and she was meeting up with them for drinks. So she told him that. He was like, okay. So he ends the award ceremony. It's kind of later at night. And he's calling her phone and calling her phone and calling her phone. This is a story that he's giving me, right? He's calling her phone, calling her phone, calling her phone, trying to get a hold of her. She's not answering. Finally, real late at night, her phone does call, but it's not her. It's the police because she is passed out in the hotel lobby couch and nobody can wake her up. So they're calling whoever's in her phone to come and pick her up. So he comes and picks her up. She's drunk, like drunk to the point where he was like, was she drugged? And they go to the hospital, right? Because she's blackout drunk. And they go through some tests, but she doesn't do a sexual assault test, which if you were passed out, don't know how you got there, don't know how you got to the hotel lobby, you were not staying there, there was no record of you staying there, but somehow you ended up in the hotel lobby, and you don't remember how you got there, you would think you would want to go through all the batteries tests to find out what happened. She did not want to do that. Not just the sexual assault test, but other tests. He was like, okay. So he's telling me the story, I don't know, a couple of days after it happens. And I'm going to tell you how he told me, and I'm going to tell you how he told me I received it. So he tells me, and I'm just kind of nodding my head. I'm like, okay, well, she's going through a rough time right now, man. For better, for worse, you gotta stick with her. And he was like, Bruce, I gotta be real honest with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if your kids are listening, cover their ears real fast. He said, Bruce, I'm gonna be real honest with you. For some strange reason, I'm just seeing 5 dicks in her face. I said, calm down, man. Calm down. Like, I think you're overreacting. I don't think that something like that happened. He was like, hey, she was meeting up with a friend. Where was a friend? I was like, I don't know. Who was a friend? I don't know. I've never met this friend before. Oh, well, was it a male or a female? It was a male. I said, oh. Now, in my head, what was I thinking? Oh, she cheated. Well, absolutely. Not to the extreme to which he was questioning her. But I was like, oh, yeah, she cheated. Absolutely. Did I tell him that? Hell no. Because once again, we're talking about honesty and friendship. Like, at what point do I tell him, hey, man, I'm pretty sure your wife is cheating on you? That's a real hard conversation to have with somebody that's your friend, but like, he wasn't my best friend, right? My best friends, I would say something like that too, but somebody that you're more than friendly with, but not best friends with, and more than likely that their wife's cheating on them. And you also know that man and that he might not handle it that well. And so I'm kind of just pushing him along to make him realize what's going on. So after that, I said, yeah, man, I don't think it's that bad. Those are my exact words. He says, that when he told me the story that it was written all over my face that I was hiding something and I wasn't saying something. And that's probably true. And I had no poker face. There was another story. The other story was, and this was maybe a month or two after the hotel incident. She goes out with one of her neighbors. She's real good friends with the neighbor, and they go out to the local bar to go have drinks. Once again, she does not have a job. So we're going on 4, 5 months of not having it, 4, 5, 6 months of not having a job. Got a little part-time job here, a little part-time job there, but not contributing to the household at all. And this whole time I'm saying, hey man, she still don't have a job? What does she do all day? I'm trying to push him in the corner to realize what is already clear to me, that she's up to no good. But anyway, fast forward to this night. She goes out with a friend in the local bar. It's within walking distance. It's 2:00 in the morning. She's still not home. Mind you, she ain't got to get up and go to work in the morning, but he does. But he's still worried that his wife is not home at 2:00 in the morning. The hotel incident put something in his ear, put something in his heart, but it's very tough for people to admit to themselves, hey, this person might be up to no good, especially after you married them, right? Like that's a difficult thing to do. So his wife hasn't come home yet. It's 2:00 in the morning. He calls her. Another dude answers the phone. She is at the bar. He can hear the commotion in the background, but another dude answers the phone. The very next day, he's telling me this story. And I asked him very important questions. Hey man, who was she with? Well, she was with her neighbor. And I was like, and she went down to the bar? Yeah. And it was 2:00 in the morning. Yeah. And you call her because she's not responding to your text messages. Yeah. And when you call her, another dude answer the phone. Yeah. Do you know that dude? Was that dude like a friend and a neighbor or something? I don't know. Did you ask any questions? She was too drunk when she got home and couldn't really talk. We just went to bed. When this happened? Last night. Okay, man. I don't know. Like I would have a few more questions if that was me. I feel like that's completely unacceptable. I know she's going through a rough time, but I would have more questions to ask than to just let this slide. Yeah. I'm going to talk to her. He never talked to her. Fast forward. Sure enough, what I thought was happening. She comes home one day and just says, I can't do this anymore. I need to leave. They're heading towards a divorce. And he's like, all this stuff isn't making sense. I think she might be cheating. And I say to him, well, I don't know, man. It's a lot of things pointing in that direction, but I don't know if she would cheat on you. And why am I saying this? Because I'm scared of how he'll react if he finds out that she was cheating. Well, in a divorce proceedings, she tried to take a lot of money. So he hired a private investigator and found the fact that she was cheating. And he's contacted me, let me know, because I'm the person that he's been talking to this whole time. So I know the whole story, or I'm still finding out years later, there were parts of stories that he left out and didn't tell me. And I understand that. It's embarrassing. So I get that. Fact of the matter is, if I was going through the same thing he was going through, there's no way in the world I would have told him. Not because we're not close, because I wouldn't tell anybody. That shit's embarrassing. But I get it. You know, he's holding on to that tight. And then finally, when he showed me the private investigator's pictures, I finally came clean. I was like, yeah, man, you know, I kind of thought that, but, you know, I didn't want to say anything. He's like, why didn't you want to say anything? I was like, man, you know, I mean, sometimes I can end a friendship if I'm telling you what I think I see, what I'm pretty sure of that I see, and you not trying to hear it. You could get mad at me, and that's the end of the friendship. And so I was like, I'll push you in that direction and let you figure it out on your own. Now we laugh about it because it's years later. Here's the point. We were laughing about it earlier today. That's the reason I'm talking about it on the show. I got his permission to talk about it, but I still leaving him out of it as far as name and recognition, because we don't want to put his business out there like that. And anybody that knows me wouldn't be able to figure out who this was anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. But, you know, he was saying you were definitely giving me so many hints, asking me so many questions that was leading me into what you already believe. And I was like, yeah, you're dumb. You would not pick up on any of the stuff that I was putting down. I would have had to come out and say, she's doing this. I can feel it. I can see it. All this stuff isn't adding up to me. But at the same time, I don't think you wanted to receive it because you saw the same things that I saw and you didn't want to accept them. So that's the reason why I bring up friendship and honesty. Because what do you people think? Was I wrong just not being upfront and honest and saying, hey, man, I think she's cheating on you? Or at the very least, it's just been like, hey, man, she's taking advantage of you by not working and not doing anything around the house. Like, I don't believe in that old school, husband and wife duties. But like I said earlier, if one spouse is working and the other one is not, they need to be doing stuff around the house. I'll tell you right now, if any women out there that make significant money are looking for a spouse and just let that spouse do his podcast and not have to really work, I guarantee you that house is going to be spick and span, and there's going to be food on the table every night that I prepared for you, because that's what I'm bringing to the table. But yeah, what do y'all think? Should I have been honest or not? I got another story about honesty and friendship before I get out of here. One of my friends was telling me a story that one of his friends was getting married, and they were all, groomsmen and everything. They were getting ready for the wedding in his suite. And one of their mutual friends was tying his bow tie for him because he didn't know how to tie his bow tie. So the guy that was tying the guy's bow tie looked the guy in his face and said, hey, you're going to need a mint. Now, why is that funny to me? And why is that funny when my friend said it? Because he didn't say, hey, did you want a mint? He said, hey, you're going to need a mint. And that's some brutal honesty for you, because there's other ways that you could say, hey, man, your breath stink all to be damned. He chose to say, hey, you're going to need a mint. And I asked my friend, what did he do? What did my friend do when the guy said that to the other guy? He said, I wanted to bust out laughing, but that's also my friend, so I couldn't. But inside, I was dying laughing because my man said, hey, you're going to need a mint. That makes me laugh every time. Oh, there are so many ways to tell a person that their breath stink, but that you going to need a mint and not, hey, do you want a mint? That's crazy. That is really crazy. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching, for tuning in and supporting us and helping us grow. I really appreciate it. And until next time, as always, I'll holler. Whew, that was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock with will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling genuine and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.